Welcome to the Adventure Island podcast hosted by Ballyhass, a podcast where we dive into this week's outdoor news, look at why we should all be getting active outdoors, providing inspiration for outdoor adventures, travel destinations, fringe outdoor sports and local destinations and characters. This podcast is released every Friday following our newsletter on Thursday. Please sign up with the link below on all our podcast providers.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Adventure Island podcast, week number 6 in season 1. You're with me, Owen McCarthy, and my co-host Paul McCabe. We're both from Ballyhass Adventure Group here in Cork, Ireland. This, as the intro went by, we're a bit about everything about outdoors, news, tourism, adventure, anything to get you interested and excited about the outdoors. We're here, and we got a really cool podcast coming up for you this week, actually. We're just going to quickly go into the kind of weekly updates. We're looking at the kind of reopening roadmaps now that are coming online. We're currently still in level 5 if you're listening to this out of line. We're then going to go on to we're pretty quickly going to go on to our adventure destination of the week, this week being Snowdonia, as being quite comparable to our New Zealand adventure destination, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And we really want to look at what activities they're doing, and maybe even that will probably most likely segue into what we see as the future of adventure tourism, or maybe at least adventure attractions, outdoor adventure activities, that kind of blurred line between amusement park and outdoor provider. And I think Snowdonia is a really good use case for that. And then we always have a segment at the end where we go maybe a local destination or our adventurer expedition person of the week. So we have a couple of small ones there, but I think our adventure destination will take up a lot of our time this week. Not too much really on the news front this week, Paul, eh?
Yeah, no, it's kind of to try not sound like we're repeating ourselves. Nothing is really new down the pipeline. One really good thing I actually only read this morning was that I think it was on the Independent that they were saying about outdoor sports kind of hopefully making a return in April, which is good news. But look, I suppose we're still in the waiting game is still there, so we're just still waiting.
Weren't you saying as well though that Leo sounded a bit unsure about himself in terms of what that outdoor sport is? And it's funny, as Ballyhass, if you don't know us, we run an activity center over multiple locations, of which school tours are a big aspect of our season every year, and they're booking, and we're struggling. We're almost full with dates, really, as we usually would be any other year. But of course, this year is just so hard now, because if those educational trips don't go ahead, people are going to lose out because we just won't have other dates. That we've just got no ability to move them to other dates now. So, and I mean, of course, we have to watch what's happening with numbers and bits and pieces, but it's going on 5 months now that people are stuck within 5K for so long. And he did say, obviously, that's going to be lifting. So at least that's something in one sense. But I don't think you can lift the 5K and not entertain the outdoor activity side of things, because why are people going to travel right now? You know what I mean? Like, if you lift 5K, they're going to go out on their 5K and they're going to do something. So what you're going to have to open something side by side to counteract that, or make it safe, and of which we know outdoor sports is safe. So it will be interesting, hey?
Yeah, and I agree with that, because I think, if we open just if we were just to open the 5K, people are just going to probably be doing the same routine that they did within their 5K. I think, what would really get people productive and really looking forward to the outdoors is opening facilities, that would get them outdoors and something to look forward to. I know, if we get the green light to run our Easter camps, how much of a difference that's going to make. I was just off the phone there in Mallow, and a woman said, "Oh, I can't wait. Oh, hopefully, is it going to go ahead? Please, God, will go ahead." She was going mad. So that's the excitement that we're hearing from people. So hopefully they'll be able to facilitate it, as you mentioned their own. Like, the outdoors is the safest place you can be. So hopefully there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to facilitate these things, and other outdoor companies shouldn't be either.
Yeah, it's just it's common sense in our eyes, but of course, look, everyone has their own comfort levels and that kind of stuff. But look, we just have to hope for it. I've got here, Paul. So Vertex Industry Group, who is actually, they're a private company that do high ropes training, inspections, courses, that kind of stuff, based out of the UK. Super impressed with these guys. We've done a little bit of work kind of side by side with some of our ERCA, which is the European Ropes Course Association here in Mallow, which we're involved with to get our guys trained up on the high ropes, and they're involved in ERCA as well. But they really banded together in first lockdown. It's continuing on here, so I really, that they're basically banded together a lot of the industry and across kind of multiple outdoor industries, from attractions to amusement parks, to schools, to any stakeholder within the outdoor industry. They kind of banded together and really did some good workshops and really put together what I would consider the first applicable protocols for COVID-19 last year. And they've been, while obviously we went quiet because we all got so busy for 3 or 4 weeks, they continued that now through this winter and into the current lockdown situation. And now they've produced this opening or reopening roadmap. Of course, England now have dates, thanks to Boris there. The only last week was it we talked about it.
Yeah.
So what are they? Step 1, part 2, Monday 29th is their first one, I think. So from 29th, the rule of 6, which never really came into here, the rule of 6, or 2 households meeting outdoors would be permitted. So if I go into the bullet points, this is kind of ropes courses organized off-ground sports activity venues. That's an interesting term, organized off-ground sporting activity venues.
Yeah.
I wonder, does that include climbing walls? Can control movement of their customers around the site, can operate safely and within the permitted rule of 6, can, as far as reasonably participate, communicate to their customers, have an up-to-date COVID-19 risk assessment, provide advice to customers, follow a government hands, face, space campaign. That's an interesting one as well. Had you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that. No, that's very interesting. It definitely.
Bruce sticking up his ass here behind me. that's my dog for those listening in. So provide advice to customers, setting them up. So hands-free space, that's an interesting one. And then step 2 comes 12th of April. Kind of like outdoor venues again, all remaining outdoor leisure activities actually will be permitted to reopen, provided they can do safely 2 households, COVID-19, staying safe, COVID-19 secure, ensure their method of operation is COVID secure. So like there, I suppose. And then the third one is Monday 17th of May, following the government's move to step 3, all remaining members of Vertex Industry Group, which I mentioned is quite a wide varying stakeholder group, can reopen. So that's May 17th. That's not too far away, you know what I mean?
Oh.
So like you'd hope this time next week, well, that might be on the early side. Well, not far off it. Like we surely would have a better indication at that point, eh?
Yeah, no, hopefully, like, and that it's like just even that roadmap there, like it's all very, very promising, and it's nearly reassured. And I think that's what a lot of the outdoor industries need, is just that reassurance that they have that preparation time. Like even in our situation, I feel, I'm hoping that we're not going to just be off the bat and straight into it and running on the treadmill basically when we get up running, but like we're well prepared, I think, at the moment, to kind of that we are assuming that we're going to have this a small opening in the next couple of weeks. But definitely there, it's reassuring that especially in the UK, that they have this good long roadmap, know exactly where they're going to bring in their stuff. I think it's very good, and hopefully we'll get something very similar. But no doubt, anyway, I know, just talking about ourselves, I think we'll hit the ground fairly running very well. Luckily, we had the chance to do that last year.
But you see, I mean, the roadmaps were so drawn out last year because people needed to prepare. But we've been preparing now for 12 months on this, and we know a lot of the industry have been doing the same. So that needs to play a factor in my mind into how these places open. Going, we're not dealing with an unknown anymore. We have a fair, to a certain extent, of course, it's fluid and it's ever changing. But we have the infrastructure in place there anyway, you know what I mean? And that was such a large cost there, but it's there. The signage is there. Nothing's changed. We hope to be taking those away, not anymore, but the bulk of it is done in there.
Yeah.
So I really hope they take that into account, because you can't baby us at this point, you know what I mean? Like, you've supported us really well, but now let us get on and do our job safely that we know we can, you know?
Yeah.
You did send on, there's a European Travel Agents and Tour Operators Association. Safe travel is possible this summer. So they're still very much looking at that, what we've discussed in previous podcasts, that vaccine, passports. So they're looking at roadmaps that they can create on a wider scale, which is, it's funny watching the layers of the onion go out from Ireland to the UK to Europe and further afield, and how this, but it will be those kind of gradual layers peeling out, won't it?
Yeah, and it's interesting there on the vaccine passport front. I read only there a couple of days ago that I think it was China has the first ever now vaccine passport. It's an app that you have on your phone, and it comes up with your PCR test and your vaccination certificate, and it's literally just a QR code. So they're hoping that this is going to be a common worldwide thing. We heard Ryanair coming out and saying that they have a wallet now for your vaccination and your PCR testing. So I think now that all these countries, industries, airlines are coming out with this, they're hoping it's going to come together, that this roadmap can come out for, travel agencies, and they're able to, have a reopening plan, because they never really had one. They've been locked down since, the COVID pandemic began.
But like, how can you plan? I'm doing a business degree at the moment, or a leadership degree, and all the articles are changing quite quickly. You know what I mean? You can't do a 5-year plan anymore. You know what I mean? You don't even know what's going on in 12 months. Like the traditional thinking around businesses, travel, tourism, organizations are just completely changing, and so this traditional stuff is just, they're not quite, nothing's the same, it's hard to plan, and we need to figure out new approaches. And I think that, I'm sick of talking about COVID anyway, always, but I think it's a good way. But I do, I guess, want to look at that aspect of how it's going to affect the future of activities, and the future of industry, because little things like contactless arrivals, pre-booking. You can see that Fall to Ireland are putting massive import on digital transformations within the outdoor sector, which is brilliant. Like, we've always been blazing our own path in that, developing our own systems, but now you can see the talk is really going, okay, we need to, of course you're going to be more confident if you can book in, and that sounds to somebody listening in going, of course you're going to book in, but this is the outdoor industry. A lot of guys are working out of vans, working at a beach, they have no reception, they don't know anything. This is it's cutting edge for us in one sense, you know what I mean? Like, we're probably at one end of the spectrum with very, very enclosed sites and our own land and buildings and infrastructure, whereas other guys can be traveling to these out of the way locations. So just to be more digitally savvy is relatively new. It was always coming in, but now there's just such a boom on it. And we're currently going through a massive overhaul of our system, but it's arriving 2 months late because they're under such pressure, because so many businesses are going, well, I can't just operate a walk-in anymore. So where is that going to take us down? That has to improve our industry. Like, it's going to improve other industries as well, So I'm interested to see where that takes us. And I think our adventure destination of the week, Snowdonia, we're looking at an article, particularly in the English Independent, with what's the title of it? It is Snowdonia's transformation from Sleepy Park to Adrenaline Junkies Paradise. That really excites me. You and I both had a conversation about New Zealand and how Ireland and New Zealand are such similar in topography and geography, and culture, and island nation and climate, and they seem to have captured the adventure spirit that doesn't seem to really have hit home. Like, we wouldn't be doing this podcast if we didn't think there was an element of education we needed to get out for people. But then all of a sudden, like this article came up, and I've been to Snowdonia twice. I love it, and it's a recommendation I've made in our newsletter. It's there's some unbelievable provider, and we'll get into a few of them here now in a second. But like that conversation, you know, we're like, why can't we do it, and why can't it happen in this side of the world? And yet, it'd be quicker for me to get to Snowdonia, or at least as quick as it is to get to Belfast. You know what I mean? And there's a wake park over there, and I know, and there's a wake park in Belfast, so I know because, you know, it might be maybe slightly easier to get because there's no ferry involved, but you get the ferry, and you're over to Snowdonia like that, and you're arriving essentially into Snowdonia National Park, and it's just amazing, and just such a beautiful part of the world. But I think through a couple of really good providers, which should really interest us, and we do look at them and follow them. They're really creating a vibe through there. And interestingly, it's private providers and not public providers that are really pushing it. And you haven't been now, have you?
No, I've never been, and it like when even doing the research for this podcast, it didn't even come out of just something regular reading. It was something I was researching into because I think I've talked in a previous podcast. It's one of the things I kind of want to look into now when things start opening up, was maybe UK, Scotland, Wales. But no, it was when they said it's the adventure capital of Europe at the moment, like it's turning into that. I thought, wow, okay, maybe this is a place I really should consider. And then you said it that you've been there twice, so our conversation got going.
Yeah, I was super excited. Like, do you know, it's funny why we didn't come to this before, really. And I was just doing a quick search there of what's the there was a beautiful, like, and it's kind of based around Carnarvon, Conway Valley, Portmagh, Southern Snowdonia. I'm not going to put my hands on it now, so I'm not going to waste time looking for it. There's a couple of amazing villages. It's just a great drive, very accessible, and it's, of course, it's very much based around the mountains, you know. So like it's really Kerry-esque in my mind. It's based around the whole Snowdonia mountain range there, and you can drive right the way around it. I didn't do much hiking while I was there, but we did go at one point to do a few, and we did a few more like day walks rather than any serious mountain. But from what I've seen, I'd say Snowdonia looks like an incredible hike, you know what I mean? And the trail is well blazed. But it definitely, I think, higher than Crontoul. I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah.
But like if you're into the mountains, it's super accessible. And then I guess it's a good example of even Ireland being a little bit behind. They have good trails, good trail maps, good trail markings. And even I wish I had did my research there now and had that village there, because it was so cool, because it was a small tiny little rural village full of hiking shops, really cool outdoor shops in a small village, like, you know. And I thought that was really cool, and just a sign of the locality embracing the adventure of it, you know. I actually showed another video, and I might try and put it in the description, and this is growing a real segue now, but there was another town. It might have been a Netflix documentary of how a town in America embraced the mountain trails. And the same thing happened North Face and Columbia, and all these guys just started taking over all the shops in this small rural mountain town. And they held a big, massive mountain biking event every year. That was like a whole festival, but the whole village got involved and they were all about it. And we have the potential to do those kind of things, but it's sometimes it seems hard to get the buy-in from the stakeholders. And of course, and I think land ownership came back. We highlighted that as a big area that people that always throws up roadblocks here. Like, I mean, there's something about Irish and the land that always I don't know, I can never put my finger on it.
It's my field,
if you see, I was just about to say the field, you know, isn't that so appropriate? However, you know, 50, 60, 100 years on, that those kind of things are stopping potentially, or definitely slowing tourism down. And these points where these abrasion points where people are just getting, you know, they're not working together. They're kind of butting heads on it, you know. But like, so that's a good example. This town did it in Snowdonia, but I think why they're here, and this article definitely goes into There's Zip World over there. So check out zipworld.co.uk. It's really cool. They have like, it's basically when you're driving through, I actually went there, but it wasn't operating that day because it's in the mountains and there was loads of mist, but it's just like a huge zip line. And I think I'm going to say Europe's fastest, if not the world's fastest zip line, going over a quarry like ours. So obviously there's a lot of similarities. They just kind of do it on a bit more of a mega scale. So they have that. The same company then is opening a second mega zip line further south in Wales, but I think still in Snowdonia or close, definitely in Wales anyway. So another one, and doing it at this grand scale. They also have, I think they were the first in the UK to have a nets course. And if you don't follow Ballyhass, we've just installed our own nets course this year. So we're following in their footsteps on that one. But their nets course, to be fair, is super cool because it's underground in an old quarry cavern and all lit up with lights. So you get the same. We have ours high up in the air to give that kind of effect, but they're in quarries. And then they have other cool stuff like quarry. It's like quarry carts. So it's like it's like a go-kart without an engine, but you're downhill, and they've got a cool track worked out there. But what I'm going to really highlight, and I think is the mind-blowing one, is Surf Snowdonia. Surf Snowdonia, you might have seen them, is an inland surfing pool. Okay, so I'm sure most people will have seen inland surfing pools at this stage. They're springing up all over the world, but they are gigantic. You know, they are just so huge. The infrastructure involved is massive. I actually have a video here, so let's share the screen for the guys on YouTube. Okay, it's just I think I'm sharing there, Paul, am I?
Yeah, good there.
Yeah, cool. So I'll leave that play in the background. It's just massive. Like, it's a huge pool with and big energy reserves as well. So like the investment is actually really, really big. You know, you can see it there in the background. It doesn't even do it justice in size. Like, I would say it's as big as the lake in Mallow, Paul, you know? Like, it's proper big and had to be dug out to get the proper, you can see the waves running through there. It like, for those watching on, there's kind of a gangway that goes right the way through the middle, and it has like a rolling train effect where it pushes this big way through it. There's loads of different technologies, and there's a bit of a fight at the moment. It might be something we'll actually highlight in a future podcast, because it's actually really interesting that all these technologies are coming out in the surf pools, and they're big investments. They're multi-million euro investments to get through. And like, as an operator, I'm like always amazed at it, because I think you might struggle as a private entity to do this. You'd need a lot of government, local council support to put it in as an amenity, rather than and have a professional body run it, rather than if a professional private entity was to go and build this from scratch. I don't know, do you get the throughput of surfers? And plus, like, we're obviously still in a seasonal location, so like, while you have consistent surf conditions all year round, it's still going to get cold, you know. But long story short, I visited this. It wasn't open at the time because it was in the winter, but the facility, and it was like driving in a North Cork village, Paul. You were just driving along the main street, and all of a sudden you just look to the left, this gigantic, and it was almost Main Street. It's just the most bizarre thing ever. And it was almost Main Street. But they have this big surfing pool in there. And like, how did they get that over the line? Like, this is a small rural Welsh town that literally said, can we dig a gigantic hole? They use now the mountain springs. So I think they've managed the, on it. And this is really cool. I haven't seen this competition. Again, on the video behind us, you can see the amount of people there looking at it. And it just looks so cool. And again, what they do well is get this festival vibe there, you know, and it's something that we're trying to do with the wakeboarding, but we never have the critical mass that these guys seem to create. Like, look at this again. I know this is supported by Red Bull and this kind of stuff, and they have proper pro surfers, but it's just so cool, you know. They're definitely doing it well. And the fact, my original point then, going back, that it is private entities running this is exciting, you know. It means that we can certainly do it over here, eh?
And like, this is the thing, like, it's going back to what you have been saying there, of the will to do it nearly, you know, like Snowdonia and even probably Wales in general have this real outdoor initiative, you know, innovation, that they want to put things like this in and put these type of activity centers like Zip World, just activity, adventure, opportunities, which is like I remember like being in college, and this location, like I remember anyone who was into surfing, especially the surf club down in Maynooth and in UL, this is their like big excursion at the end of the year. This is what they were saving the money to go to, was this place here in Snowdonia. And that's the first time I even came across it, and I was like, I remember looking at the first video, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, it's pure insane.
I think it was one of, like, if I'm not mistaken, it could be one of the world's first inland wave pools.
I think
like
it is,
literally
yeah.
in Snowdonia, in a tiny little village.
Yeah.
Who was the man behind that really pulled that off? Because I would love to chat to him and go, where did the vision come from? How did the execution happen? How did you get over the hurdles? I think it's surely a really interesting, and we should do a bit more research on it. I like, just as you were talking there, we're looking at this amazing facility, and then I don't know, have you seen the plans for the kayak whitewater rafting in Grand Canal in the middle of Dublin?
Oh yes, I have. Yeah, actually, I briefly skimmed it. I remember, because it was it, and they're talking about, it basically wasn't the bringing in, that was bringing something. What was it in Cork? They're trying to bring in the outdoor pool again. It was like inspiration. It was like,
the Lidos.
Yeah, so
the Cork Lido.
I think it came from the influence of them bringing in the kayaking thing in the Grand Canal. It's like, oh well, if Dublin can get it, can we have something as well?
Yeah,
like the Lidos.
But the Dublin one, right? The Dublin is not dissimilar. And you need power. You need to push this through. You need, they're super expensive, and you're going to put a cost on this, but like, it's an engineering challenge, and you've got to expect hiccups along the way.
Yeah.
But then Ireland, and for someone's wisdom, decided to put it into the center of Dublin, which is completely at capacity, or was completely at capacity, super expensive, and also like a tourism hotspot anyway. Like, where was the wisdom in putting a facility like that into city? And like, I mean, people need to bring kayaks here. Like, I mean, how do you getting a kayak through a bus through a city to get to this facility? Now, I'm completely on the fence on this one, actually, because obviously I want to see these facilities going in. It's amazing. But then you look at this, it's a great example of looking at Surf Snowdonia in a rural little village that everyone bought into, that had the space, that had the ability, the car parking, for God's sake, to get there, and they got on board with it. But then Ireland, why are we just backwards in doing that? I mean, great, somebody's showing a bit of initiative to go, let's put in this whitewater center in Ireland. And I'd imagine, like, and that's going to be Sport Ireland, and it is Olympic based, and all those sports are in the Olympics. So, there's definitely, you can see the Olympic effect on it by putting in those things. But I don't know. Well, like, what are they doing different in this scenario? We looked at it there from New Zealand, but what's Snowdonia doing different?
I don't know. I've thought about this, like, of why we plunge everything into Dublin, and sometimes I wonder, is it an access thing? And I know now I could be way off the rails with this, because I know I'm just trying to base it on, like, I remember when we were trying to, I know it's completely irrelevant, but like when we were trying to host the Rugby World Cup, and they said our problem was always access, like, so it's access to places. And for some reason, I think that's maybe makes us a little bit conservative. Like, we know Dublin's going to get the tourism, we know Dublin's going to be the safe place to build this, whereas if we build out in the middle of Thurles, something like that they're fearing that it won't get the access that and the access and the reach that it should potentially be with all the funding it will get. So maybe sometimes I think that has an element to do it. Now, I could be way off the cards, and that could be completely incorrect, but I always feel we're conservative because we're so fearful of access. And like, as you mentioned there, like, it could be the opposite way around. They're thinking, well, why would I be going down to the back arse in the middle of nowhere to bring my kayak down there? Like, and they like, whereas, oh, it's in Dublin.
That's
grand.
But that's the nature of kayaking, isn't it? Though, so like, I mean, like, what I don't know what. Again, it's a perception thing from the Irish government, for want of a say, or
agree.
the decision makers to go, oh, that facility needs to go to Dublin and be protected. But yet the reason that facility exists is because those sports developed in the wild, you know, that you had to go to the back ass of nowhere to do that sport. Well, that's where people are going.
I think
to
you've
do that
hit the
sport
nail on the
currently,
head.
you know?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head.
So yeah, and it's going to increase the safety, it's going to increase in participation. So there's so many good aspects of it. But then, of course, the commentary around that development, and maybe we're going on a bit of a tangent here now, but the commentary was very negative, going, oh, here we go again, another white whale, you know, 5 million, that's going to be 50 million by the time it's finished, and yada, yada, yada. So like, now I'm hoping that's just because, again, because the reason I brought it up was because of the location. But there's still that negativity there. I would hope if they put that in Cavan, you know what I mean, that everyone would get on board and go, sure, that's perfect. Like, let's get more people there. They have the capacity, but then I suppose they might not have bed nights and that kind of thing as well.
That's it.
It's a weird, like, we'll have to come back to it because it's interesting. There's something there that we're not doing, but we can solve it, Paul. You and I can sit in here on a Friday night, have a whiskey, and solve our world's outdoor, our Irish outdoor problems. We'll make it an adventure destination yet. So look, like I don't want to, like, we went on too long last week. So the last thing I want to talk about is like the future of activities, because I think Snowdonia does it quite well. I did an article, or just a kind of a word piece on what, for college actually, on what I thought the future of the outdoor industry might look like, you know. And I think we'll start taking a lot of cues from the amusement industry. That's where a lot of the cutting edge attraction kind of technology, for want of a better word, is coming. But I think it's a good time to look at it because of what COVID's doing, in just our general way of working. There's seismic changes in every organization and every industry right now, that like maybe it could be a time that our industry starts taking a bit more on board. And there are some interesting things coming along, but I think initially what Zip World's doing, actually they're pushing the boundaries. They're doing like mega zips. That is definitely these high infrastructure installations, high adrenaline, high, like, I suppose, very, very newsworthy, very eye-catching, and quite technology based and quite data driven. Whereas a lot of like ropes courses around here can be just thrown up, you know what I mean? Going, if you got a good handy guy, they can get them up, they can get them signed off. But like those days are gone. There's too much red tape now. There's too much everything. So even we're trying to, you know, surpass kind of European standard, and there's not even Irish standards in place, you know, so we have to go to Europe to see these standards. So currently that's probably where it is. Bear Grylls, I think, is another really outstanding one in Birmingham, which is kind of an indoor outdoor center that have like an indoor skydiving tunnel, indoor diving pool. They have amazing high ropes course outside, but like, I guess they have adopted technology quite well in their operation side, which is, and it's kind of coming from Disneyland and these kind of stuff, where they're not, you don't pay cash in Disneyland, you pay Disney bucks and a few other different things. And in Bear Grylls, they had these contactless, which this is before COVID, but like, I bet they're counting their lucky stars they have it now. But they give you these wristbands when you go in, and you get logged onto your activities, and you go, okay, you're doing zip lining, high ropes, and diving, and the wristband, you go over to a locker, undo, like, it opens your locker for you, and you go, you can put your credit card on it at the start, so you can buy food in the middle of the day in between your activities, and you just scan it takes off your credit card. When the activity starts, your instructor doesn't come to you, your wristband buzzes, and you head over to the instructor, and they have this little iPad on their belt, and they scan your wristband, and off you go. And they say your name and have all your waiver and have all your details. And it's constantly buzzing before you get the time and that kind of stuff. So it was a really cool adoption of technology in the operation side of activities, I guess. And that cost, I think the bands alone cost $250,000. So like, I mean, it's great to see these private companies pushing the outdoor industry, the outdoor education. We've always said we want to be that middle ground. We want to keep our outdoor education roots, but get quality outdoor experiences through quantity and accessibility. But like, I really looked at these guys to you still need to be on the cutting edge of actually the activities themselves. Other big technology things coming through are like AR, augmented reality. Can you imagine going across the zip line with a headset or even your glasses on and seeing your speed come up in a speed dial, or look down and see the flora and fauna and it tells you this is that and that, and you're going at this speed and you're this height. That's a cool adoption of technology to enhance your experience in my mind, you know. There's the virtual reality would obviously be one. We've looked at technologies where you could potentially partially do the activity before you arrive, like our leap of faith or something. So if you're afraid of heights, throw on your virtual headset in your office and go, this is what it's kind of going to be like, you know. And then go, if you can get through this, you'll definitely get through it in physical. We need to start pushing, I think. And I think Snowdonia, by, you know, building their next course underground, the first one, and then doing these mega zips, which is an industry trend now that you'll start seeing all over the world. I think they're really pushing it, and I'm enjoying seeing where we can identify technology coming into the industry.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. One concern I do have, though, is I hope we don't fall too far behind, you know, like, because we do have maybe sometimes our concern with the Irish adventure activities of keeping maybe up to date. You know, I know we do our best to do it as much as possible, but hopefully, like, you know, every centre in the world bar Ireland is bringing in these wristbands to scan in. Like, hopefully that we don't, you know, that we don't fall behind in that, and that we are the only ones that are maybe not doing that. But I do think, like, I think Ireland has made good progress in terms of, like, you know, their just the things even they're brought in. I know even from our own experience, like, we've brought in, like, we've been looking into that type of stuff, looking into augmented reality. We've done that. We've been looking into different news, even this podcast, keeping up to date, trying to keep up to date with adventure activity news. And so, like, all I always hope is that, like, you know, that we can keep up with the pack. But I think, like, I have good faith in it at the same time, you know.
Well, the last problem with this industry is we're always traditionally anti-technology. We're like, get off your screen, spend less time there, just don't be on screen time the whole time. And that is an interesting one because we're not digitally native. You know, can you remember a time when you didn't have a phone? Maybe you can't. Can you?
It's only 6-7 years ago, like, before I got a smartphone. So it's like,
I mean, I can remember my Nokia 3210, but I was only in secondary school. So, like, I didn't grow up with screens, you know, I didn't grow up with telephones. But now remember, the people that we're taking through our centers at the moment are completely digital native. They've known nothing but screens. So, like, we've got to adapt as an industry, because we can't just keep ramming down people, go, get off screens.
Yeah,
that's not correct. Like, they don't, you know, the young people might not even understand that, going, why would I get off a screen? That's how I go about my business. This is how I run my life. So of course there's downside. Of course you want to reduce it. Of course but we shouldn't be anti it. You know what I mean? We should be looking at ways for it to enhance our outdoor experiences. And I think you can, like, look, I used examples in my article about augmented reality with iPads and just the stars, you know, the way, you know, you can put up your screen and it'll actually show you, like, it'll use the GPS technology and show you what star constellations are above you at that time on the screen. And there's other wilderness ones as well that you can put your screen over plants and it will tell you what it is and this kind of stuff. I mean, like, we would have, like, as much as we would have gone, or I will say, for my old fogey chair, I was running around and climbing trees, but I never knew what it was. But, like, if now we have the opportunity to give kids and go, like, oh, here's technology that will teach you about your environment and teach you how to be safe, or education, or where to find it, or give you this opportunity to explore the world because you can video yourself in the back arse and or kayaking and put it up and create a name for yourself. Let's embrace it. Don't be anti it. We have to find ways where we can build on it and work it into it. And operations is the easiest one of all. The booking systems are the easiest. The wristbands are the easiest in one sense. I mean, they're not easy, but they're the natural evolution. But there's another step forward where we can look to adapt technology to enhance our experiences. And I think the people who do that and keep looking and keep pushing and keep trying, that's where our industry is going to go. And Snowdonia is definitely on more, I think, on the enhance your experience through technology a little bit, you know. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it, and I agree. I hope we don't fall behind the times, but I don't think, like, we're look, we try and do it anyway.
I think it's once people get outdoors, I think it goes back to that, the core value, even our core value, like it goes back to getting people outdoors. If you can embrace technology with the outdoors, that can only be a positive thing. I can't see how it can be viewed as negative, if someone's using their phone to find out information about the outdoors. I think it can only be a positive thing. It can't be looked as a negative.
All right, let's get into our final segment. I think that's interesting. I'm sure we're going to come back to that because we can do our research, and I'd love to talk to a few people on it. So if it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. You want to highlight Achill as your adventure, don't you?
Yeah. So I was I'm mad to know where my staycation is going to be this summer. So
you keep asking, what's your plans for the summer? We're at level 5, Paul. Jesus, you can't make plans.
And I'm changing my mind every single day. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go there, and then it's changed. But I found this guy's actually I don't actually, what was his name? It was One Shot Adventures. That was it exactly. And he basically did this trip to Achill Island. I think he's from the UK, but just for the guys who are watching on YouTube, but basically it just gives such a good view of what Achill Island is about, and I think it has he called it a hidden gem in Ireland, but I think one of the reasons he's seen it as a hidden gem in Ireland was because it has that little bit of everything from Ireland. As you can see there from the video, it has castles, it has mountains, it has beaches, it has cliffs, and that's what you associate Ireland with, in the outdoors. So I think that's probably why it's known, is that hidden gem. If you were going to bring someone to Ireland and to give them a taste of everything, say you had just 2 days to give them a taste of everything, sometimes I'm thinking maybe Achill Island is what you need to bring them. So it's my adventure destination of the week. I put it in the newsletter there yesterday. I was thinking, I think this is where I'm going to go on my staycation.
Have you been, Paul?
No, never been before. I've been up to Mayo. I've been to Westport a good few times, but never made it out as far as.
That's my one negative. It's a mission. It's a mission from Cork to get there. Like, you know what I mean? It's tough going to get past Westport, but it is incredible, and it's at the end of the Greenway. You can cycle right onto it as well, which is class. It's funny. This is actually going back. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's plans for like an observatory platform, I'm going to say, out on Keene Bay looking over it, and it's getting massive no from the locals. They don't want more people there. They don't want the Cliffs of Moher vibe. They think it will damage the sustainability. And it's an interesting one when we say we want to create these adventure destinations. We need those kind of facilities, but we need them done right. Is that the right one for Keene? And then you're constantly fighting that, like, protect. We don't want more people here. This is our little hidden gem. It's an interesting one. But like, I've been there. I did the Greenway over there, which I just can't recommend highly enough. And then I was only there. Did we do it last summer? Maybe the summer before. Took a swim on Keene Beach there, and it's just it's beautiful. It's just one of those areas where you're looking around and you're like, wow, can't believe this is not.
I can understand the point of that, like. But like at the same time, I suppose striking the balance, I know, I'm a big advocate for Cavan, but I've seen some adventure tourist hotspots now starved of tourism, due to pollution, etc. So I always think, like, even having any tourists, it just shows how beautiful the place is. I haven't been there yet. I think that's one of the first places I'm going to go this summer.
Bring your sup. They've got, because they do kite surfing up there, and they've got the inner lagoon. So it's like if there's no wind, it'll be like gorgeous supping areas. Like, you know what I mean? If there is wind, you'll be full of kite surfers, and you'll be cursed that. But but it's still really cool to see.
When can I have time off for that, Owen?
Yeah, don't worry, mate. No worries. No one wants to do anything outdoors this year. They'll be happy to stay indoors, stay in their own homes, stay in their own bubbles. All right, last one on my expedition. I actually just came across. I don't know a whole pile here. about this lady, but I thought, with it being International's Women's Day this week, wasn't it, at some point, or was that last week? I saw a lot about it. I thought this was really cool. She's a lecturer in CIT, and she's aiming to be the first Irish woman to row across the Atlantic. So I think I have it here. I'm going to share it, and you'll hear a little bit of her intro video.
And I just wanted to come on here this evening to share a few facts and ideas about the campaign with you. But firstly, to say thank you so much to everybody for all your encouragement and the lovely positive vibe that's happening around the campaign. It's really encouraging to see. And when we launched the campaign last Friday, over a couple of days, I thought we might get 300 or 400 views of the promo video. And in less than 5 days, we 12,000 views, and I don't know how many shares. And the comments that were coming through were just really encouraging. So thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate it. We've launched a Twitter account and a TikTok account over the last few days. So if you know people who prefer that medium, you might point them in that direction. That would be great. So every week or so, I'm going to be making a little recording and filling you in on how the campaign is moving, and are the goals being reached or what we need to change. And it's going to be an honest forum. And I would hope that from this sort of platform, people can be encouraged to maybe push their own limit a little bit, or even try something a little bit out of their own comfort zone that they wouldn't normally try. I really would love that to happen from this campaign. And I was wondering where to do the first recording, and I thought, where better, only the beautiful South Galway Bay. So I'm here in my 5K, my house is just up the road here, and this is one of my training grounds. So I go out here in the kayak and on the paddleboard, and when I get the rowing boat, this is where I'll be doing most of my training. So I thought it was an apt location for this evening. So just to answer a few questions, a couple of sort of recurring questions that are coming through. The row itself is going to be from the Canaries to the Caribbean. It'll be approximately 3,000 miles. I will be solo. I will be on the boat on my own. I won't have a support crew. I won't have other people in the boat swapping things or handing me.
I think I actually probably let that run because I'm so interested in it, but it sounds really cool. Bang on what we're about, eh? And I think so. That is, I really like. So that's coming up on. I just stopped there on the YouTube. You would have seen it. She Can Do, all one word, 2021. Let's follow that, Paul. We should be checking in with any Irish adventurers doing that kind of stuff. And I know there's another one actually as well who he's looking to do Everest as well. So I'll bring him up next week and we'll talk a little bit about him. But all about that vibe. Just get out, do something new, do something active, on our paddleboard now, on our kayak, all the stuff that we're all about. And what, like, perfect for International Women's Day happening this week.
Yeah, I know. It looks great. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. Like when you said like there to the Caribbean, I was like, oh my god, that's going to be an amazing thing to see.
And it's actually, the other guy I'm thinking of, he did a rowing trip. He did the rowing as well, actually. And there's a race across that he did. And there's some just brilliant clips of him into his GoPro. I think he like capsized a couple of times, and it's just Damien Brown's his name, actually. I'll highlight him next week. So if you're around for next week, we'll go into Damien Brown and see how he did, because it really captures that expedition adventure experience that we've talked about in this segment before. But just so amazing to see Irish guys do it, and really excited. So that she's that one again, She Can Do 2021, and you see she's across her social platforms. Check her out, support her, let's get behind her, and support our Irish adventure, eh?
That's it, exactly. That's the name of the game.
Cool. Thank you so much. We're not gonna take you too much time. I think it's been a really interesting one. Future of activities at Snowdonia as adventure capital. Owen and Paul solving the world and making Ireland the adventure capital before you know what's what. But this is a prime Adventure Island podcast of looking at examples, finding really cool applications in the outdoor industry, and hopefully inspiring you to get outdoors. So I hope you liked it. We'd really appreciate it if you subscribed onto our Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you we really appreciate it if you came back, if you had any ideas, if you wanted to hear us talk about anybody or interview anybody or get us in touch. We're all about that, all about the outdoors, all about getting you active. So thanks so much, and we'll see you again next Friday, Saturday.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.